I'm Damien, this is Enneagram Life, and today I want to talk about someone that I thought was a Enneagram Type 7. So I only walked past this person a couple of days ago. Never saw them before in my life. Walked past them. They're walking this way with a couple of other people. I was walking this way. And it was very brief. And I thought to myself, oh, that looks like an Enneagram Type 7. And sometimes that is the case. You can just see an expression someone makes and be like, oh, that person's probably an Enneagram type, blah. And other times it can take quite a long time to figure someone out. And who knows, maybe this person wasn't even an Enneagram 7. But the reason I thought they were an Enneagram 7 was, well, I'll tell you. So I was at a university, and people on the university campus were walking around. So there's three people walking this way towards me as I'm walking this way, and these three people were a group of three, but you could tell that two of them were really talking to each other, and the other person, the third person, who I thought was the Enneagram Type 7, they were sort of slightly behind the other two. And so you could tell that that person wasn't like fully engaged in what those other two were talking about, but you could tell that they're women. You could tell that all of them, all three, you could tell that she was trying to get along with the other two and trying to be part of it, and she had a smile on her face, like she was smiling along with them rather than she was actually a part of what they were talking about or going on about. She was just going along with it, sort of a smile. And many times we'll have a smile like that. It's not that smile in particular that made me think that she was an Enneagram Type 7, but it was the whole situation of her. Like, you looked at her and she looked so hopeful. She looked like she was hoping to get along with these two other people, and it was this genuine hopefulness, but she didn't get along with them. Like it wasn't that they hated her. She just wasn't like, those two were having their own thing, right? And she was going along with them, and she was just slightly behind the other two, and she was just sort of smiling slightly behind them and kind of nodding when they were actually probably saying yes, no, yes, or, agreeing, disagreeing, or, they were communicating to each other, whereas she was just like, but it was all like that slight lag in it all. So it was all just go along with it. And and so it wasn't the actual fact that, she was going along with what they were doing that made me think she was the Enneagram Type 7, but it was how I could read on her face and her body postures, the timing of a walk, all of that, because it was all, I couldn't actually hear anything they were saying. But from what I could see, all of those cues, those non-verbal cues, said to me, or non-language cues, in terms of I couldn't actually hear what they're saying, said to me that she showed a real hopefulness in her. And it was that hopefulness that made me think, oh, this is an Enneagram Type 7. And she's hoping that this is going to be, that this social situation that she's in is going to work out. She doesn't really get along with these two people. She's not really a part of whatever they got going on, but she's hanging on, trying to be a part of it, in the hope that it's going to work out well. And you could see that hopefulness in her. And that hopefulness is very much an Enneagram Type 7 personality trait. Yeah. As in, I mean, all personality traits, like all emotions, we all feel all emotions, but Enneagram Type 7 in particular often feels that hopefulness. You can see that in them, and I could see that in her, that hopefulness. And it made me think, oh, hey, like, this is an Enneagram Type 7. Yeah. And I was thinking that, I was thinking about this and how I was going to talk about this. And I think often people use the word positivity as a synonym with hopefulness, right? To mean hopefulness. But I don't think they're actually the same thing. Now, obviously, people use words to mean different things, the same words to mean different things. People use words in different ways, the same words in different ways. But, I want to be as technical with these words as possible to really convey what I mean. And I think you kind of got to understand, I'll tell you what I'm trying to say with hopefulness and positivity. I think they're different. Now, I'm not saying that, I'm using the word hopefulness rather than positivity in this situation. I can see a lot of people describing Type 7s as positive, but I'm not using that word as, hopeful to me, like I'm using those words. I choose to use hopefulness. Like, that's what I saw in her, and I see in a lot of 7s. And to me, positivity can mean other things, because positivity, I think, in terms of adding, the word positive, it's you add something, right? So to me, positivity can mean a lot of different things, but it can mean, for example, I think it's very positive, right, for someone to study. Like, let's say they're studying, they're not getting paid to study. They're putting that time and that effort in for free. And that's a form of positivity because they're adding something, they're giving, they're doing. That's positive because they're doing something, they're adding their time, they're adding their effort. And it's positive because they're hoping that it will pay off in some way. Maybe they're going to pass an exam and they're going to get a certain certificate for passing that exam, but they're putting that effort in for free. And that's a form of positivity because they're not being rewarded for it now. And it is a form of hopefulness in the sense that they're hoping to get rewarded in the future. But they're adding something. Whereas hopefulness, they're adding their effort. Whereas hopefulness can be different to positivity in a sense that, like, it can be more like gambling. Like, people that gamble are hopeful. They're hoping to win, even if the odds are totally against them. And you could be gambling your money, so you could say, okay, they're putting that into it. Right. But I don't look at gambling as a form of positivity, but I look at studying as a form of positivity. So and I admit, sometimes hopefulness and positivity, there's bits of hopefulness in an activity and there's bits of positivity, and it's the same activity. But the idea of adding with positivity is not necessarily there with hopefulness. Hopefulness is more like optimism. It's like you're hoping for the best. And so someone could be a very hopeful person and not a very positive person in a sense. Like, they might be the type of person that never contributes. They never put effort in terms of, they'll go to practice. They'll practice a martial art. They'll be consistent. They'll train every week, a few times a week for a long period of time. To me, that's a form of positivity. And someone could be a hopeful person and never do that training, and their hopefulness could be part of not doing the training. Like, they're hoping to get better at the martial arts by turning up now and then. And so in a way, they're not contributing the effort and they're not putting the hard work in, is a lack of positivity, but it's actually, they still go to gradings and are hoping to be graded up to the next martial arts level, even though they haven't really practiced that hard, because that's hopeful. So in a way, hopefulness and positivity can sometimes be the opposite, right? And so here I'm separating hopefulness from positivity. So hopefulness as its own emotion, not positivity and hopefulness as a similar emotion. I admit sometimes they can be similar, sometimes they can be the opposite, but hopefulness in itself. And I think that's important to look at, to sort of try and get really technical of emotions like that if you want to understand like what people are feeling and how it's different from other people. Yeah, and so that's hopefulness is what I saw in that woman, and that's why I thought she was an Enneagram Type 7. And along with that, strangely enough, I do think that, well, not strangely, I guess it's related to all of that. I do think that a lot of the times that I've met Type 7s, they've been involved in gambling. They've gambled more on average than other types. Yeah, and I think that is related to their hopefulness. And I think optimism, the word optimism is probably closer to what I mean when I say hopefulness rather than positivity. Yeah. Anyway, I hope you get all that. Thanks a lot. Please subscribe.